Good morning. I'm joined by Mayor Malik Evans, Rochester Fire Department Chief Steve Napolitano, some members of the mayor's staff. Sadly, last night we responded to another act of mass violence here in our community. At approximately 6:20 p.m. last night, the Rochester Police Department responded in Maplewood Park near Bridgeview Drive for a report of shots fired. Officers arrived to find multiple people that had been shot at a large gathering in the park. A total of 7 people were treated at local hospitals for their injuries sustained from gunfire. Some arrived at the hospitals by ambulance and some arrived by private vehicle. Sadly, and despite the attempted life-saving measures by both civilians and first responders, 25-year-old Tayasia Manning passed away. Several hours later, 34-year-old Felicia Council also succumbed to her injuries. The other 5 victims are believed to be a non-life-threatening injury at this point in local hospitals. Our thoughts and prayers go out with these families. Preliminarily, it appears that hundreds of people were gathered in the park for a barbecue. At some point, rounds were fired from multiple weapons, striking the victims. There were hundreds of people at this barbecue, and therefore, there are hundreds of people who have potential information to help us solve this crime. Our major crimes unit this year has been incredibly successful at solving murders in our city, thanks to community engagement and community participation in our renewed relationship with the Rochester community. So once again, I'm asking our community to step up and help us to hold those that brought violence to a barbecue in a park yesterday accountable for their actions. To hold those that shot into a crowd, killing 2 women, accountable for their cowardly actions. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our partners from the New York State Police, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, the Irondequoit Police Department, who responded to the chaotic scene last night. And of course, I would like to thank the unheralded staff from AMR Ambulance and the local hospitals that repeatedly fight to save lives during horrific events such as this. Our investigators from the Major Crimes Unit are working diligently to try and solve this crime. Anyone who does have additional information or video, we encourage you, please contact the Major Crimes Unit at 428-7157, or you can email them, majorcrimes@cityofrochester.gov. Again, that's majorcrimes@cityofrochester.gov. Also last night, we responded with the Rochester Fire Department around 2 a.m. for a significant fire in the 1200 block of Portland Avenue. Firefighters heroically rescued a 5-year-old child that is currently being treated for life-threatening injuries at Strong Hospital. Although the cause of the fire is still being determined, our Major Crimes Unit is working hand-in-hand with our partners in the Rochester Fire Department in the Arson Task Force, which is made up of RPD, RFD, and the ATF. 2 of the heroic firefighters involved in fighting this devastating fire are currently being treated for injuries that were sustained during the rescue. We had in Rochester a weekend full of violence in which far too many people lost their lives. Far too many people are fighting for their lives or recovering from life-altering injuries. Weekends like these put a strain on our community, our families, our first responders, the Rochester community as a whole. I continue to pray for all those affected and that we can all come together, put an end to senseless loss of life, and bring the suspects from this weekend to justice. I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Evans, and then we'll take some questions.
Let me start out at the outset by being very clear here. We've had issues in parks, and usually when I stand here, it's because things are taking place late at night, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. But what happened here on a Sunday night, not even a Sunday night, a Sunday afternoon, going into the evening, people were doing things that I did all this past weekend. I visited several events that were outside, where families and kids were gathered. as I looked at that crime scene last night and saw a stroller, people's shoes, our people, our residents, should be able to enjoy the summer in a park, period. But all too often, we have individuals in this community that are unmitigated cowards, that are okay with shooting women. And two of those women lost their life. Felicia Council, and our prayers are with her family, and Taisha Manning. Now, the death of Taisha Manning hits hard for us because she was a city employee. She works for Dr. Green. And it's why we are ordering all flags on city facilities to fly half-staff for Taisha. She works in our art centers to help young people become their best selves, to help our young people get access to opportunity. She was simply at a barbecue, not causing problems, not causing confusion, not involved in any chaos, as most of the people that were there, and there's video that is there. People were in a celebratory mood, enjoying the warm weather, having a good time. But yet we had cowards that decided to start shooting that resulted in numerous people being shot and 2 people that are no longer with their families. And one person in particular, Taisha, who is not going to be, who now we have to say to the young people that come into that art center, we have to explain to those young people why she's no longer there, to her colleagues why she's no longer there. There is lots of video as it relates to this. I know folks have reached out to me, folks have reached out to the police department. We know that there are videos, but more importantly, we know that the individuals responsible for this are known in this community. It had to be. Something happened in this room right now. There's enough witnesses here for us to be able to come forward. So we need people to come forward. But I have faith in this community that they will. Just about on every homicide this year, I've stood at this podium and asked people to come forward, and they have. And it is very important that people come forward now, today, not to wait, because time is of the essence. The next 12 to 24 hours is absolutely critical. We need people, while this is fresh in their mind, to give us every piece of information that you can remember. If you remember the color shirt a person was wearing, if you remember the sneakers that they might have had on, if you might know the cologne that this individual may have, the individual or individuals may have had, the color sneakers that they had, what car color they may have left in. No piece of evidence is too small for us to be able to work to solve these crimes. And then lastly, I want to say that if you know people that are carrying illegal guns, you need to turn them in. Some of these folks turn themselves in because they get on social media and flash their guns and those sorts of things. But if you know individuals, they're not able to carry, they're not licensed to carry a firearm. They shouldn't even be licensed to carry a water gun. And yet they have the temerity to shoot innocent people because they're arguing with someone. You have an obligation to make sure that you make your voice heard, because your family member could be the next Felicia or Taisha. These are innocent victims that were having a good time at a park and a picnic. We should be able to do that in this community. Now, I'm tough in terms of closing parks early. We got a big enforcement after 8 o'clock. But you know what? Before that time, people are allowed to go in the parks and have a good time. They're allowed to gather with their friends and family and celebrate and enjoy the summer weather. And that is what was happening yesterday. So my condolences go out to the families as well as to the victims that are recovering with life-altering injuries. And it's important to say that these are life-altering injuries. Because someone does not lose their life due to gun violence, it does not mean that their lives haven't changed. I also want to encourage people, if you want to get on a better path, call our Office of Violence Prevention, 428-7233, 428-7233 if you want to change the trajectory that you are on, that you can't settle conflicts without using your guns. In this community, we cannot stand for people who are interested in destruction and devastation. Destruction, devastation, and death. That's what those folks are interested in, period, because they want to come to an event that are nice and people are having a good time, and they come and just want to tear it up. And is that what we want in our community? I know that it's not. And we need to remove those members from our society. They're not interested in being in a celebratory mood and contributing to the vibrancy of our community. They're interested in destruction, death, and that's what we saw last night. So again, we need information. Major Crimes Team, 428-7157. 428-7157. We need information to ensure that we can bring justice to both Felicia and Taisha's families, and to the individuals that have non-life-threatening injuries, and to the broader community. Maplewood Park is a storied park in our community. Nationally, Maplewood Park is known for its beautiful views, beautiful events. People in the neighborhood love and revere that park is there. And it should not be remembered by being a place that was marred for violence. So I ask the community to step forward, as you have done this year, as you have done the last 2 to 3 years, in which we have seen a decrease in violence. But a decrease in violence is not enough when we still are burying our young people, particularly our young ladies. And the last point I'll make before I turn it back over to the chief, I will tell you that I've been in this community for a long time, and I'm not saying that only men should be shot. But it was rare. It was a rarity that young ladies would be shot and murdered by gun violence. That was a rarity. We didn't have these cowards. People shot. We've had violence in our country and in our community. But it was a rarity that cowards that with guns didn't care about shooting women. It didn't happen. Go back, look 20 years. That was a rarity. And now it's becoming more and more prevalent. And it's a shame. And it's up to us as a community to say that we are not going to tolerate it. So I want to thank the community members that have come forth with information. There's been a lot of information that community members have forwarded. You can do it anonymously. Continue to put that out there. Do it for Felicia. Do it for Taisha. Do it for them and their families, but more importantly, do it for Rochester. Do it for Rochester. I also want to thank all of our partners in law enforcement, but particularly the major crimes. They are probably going on no sleep. They have been going 24/7 straight on behalf of the residents of Rochester to make sure that they get justice. So I want to thank all of our partners in law enforcement, but particularly the major crimes area that has been going nonstop. Also, my thoughts are with a 5-year-old child who is fighting for his life as a result of this fire. Obviously, you can read between the lines the fact that Major Crimes is investigating this, and the fact that we have the Arson Task Force on this tells you that when something doesn't smell right, we have to make sure that we leave no stone unturned to get justice for a 5-year-old child. Chief.
Okay, we'll take a few questions.
Chief, this is the second mass shooting in 2 months here in the city of Rochester. You and the mayor have talked a lot about the reduction in gun violence that we've seen previous to this. This is sort of a different ballgame. This is a major situation. The crowd last night was several hundred people at that park. It's our understanding it was sort of a semi-organized event. Was that on your radar? Were there any approval
Okay, I'll see if I can remember all that. Yes, this is a completely different ballgame. I would add, MLK was 2:30 in the morning, 2:45 in the morning, when the park should have been closed. So, this is next level. It was an advertised event. We know that there were flyers out there. But again, it was an advertisement for a gathering in a park. City security had been by a few times during the day for complaints of simply cars on the grass. Folks had been compliant. City security had seen no indication of people being disruptive, people being belligerent. It was a barbecue. We also have blue light cameras in the area, and it was monitored. So until what happened, we had no indication that anything like this was going to occur. The usual signs weren't there. I can't say at this point whether the shooters were from the gathering or whether they came from outside.
Chief, just let me add this about parks in general. So the mayor, I was at several gatherings this weekend. Sometimes there were lots of people there. I went to a barbecue for a family, lots of people there. The bottom line is that what we need to underscore here, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's not normal. That people should be able to gather in a park without violence happening. And particularly if it happens in the city, we should not assume, right, that violence is going to happen. So it's important, and this is why it's a different ballgame, because it was during the day, and the reports that were going out was that people were having a good time. You can see some stuff on Facebook Live, people celebrating, enjoying the summer weather. And this is why this is so very concerning, because we have individuals right now who are conceivably walking around amongst us that thought that was okay. That's not okay. I want people to gather in parks. Not after 8 o'clock, though, or 9 o'clock, or whatever time we shut down. Don't go to MLK after 8, because you'll be removed. But 5 o'clock at Maplewood Rose Park, Maplewood, you're allowed to be there. You should be there. We spend a lot of money on parks. But what we don't want to see are individuals who are just interested in disruption and destruction, and that's what we saw yesterday. There were babies there. There were people there with their kids. These individuals had no regard for that, and that should concern our community. And we should say that they should be removed from the community, and we cannot do that alone. Let's get these people removed from our community so people can have fun at parks on a Sunday at 5 o'clock, which we all are supposed to do during the summer. That's the difference. That's the difference. This wasn't some late night party that wasn't supposed to be happening. Maybe one more?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Did you say that it was advertised with a flyer, or are you talking about the MLK?
No, so the Maplewood event was advertised with a flyer. But again, unless there's certain criteria that require you to get a permit for a city park, and I don't have them in front of me, but none of the criteria that would have been required for anyone to get a permit were there yesterday, if that makes sense.
Were the women were the intended target, or were they just innocent bystanders?
I can't say either way at this point. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Can you talk about the fire at all?
What was the fire situation Saturday? Any updates on that?
So, no updates on the fire. Obviously, it's an active investigation. The 5-year-old is fighting. And if we have more updates today, we'll certainly get back to you.
And the firefighters, the extent of their injuries?
The extent of the firefighter injuries at this time are burns and skeletal injuries.
Are you able to talk about what, something bad?
I'm not at liberty at this time due to the health concerns.
Are you able to speak about what didn't smell right? You mentioned that. Is there anything you can say?
I said that, and I said we'll have more as we come later. We can't really get to the details on that yet, but more will come out. Thank you. Thank you. Off camera, if you want to check in with Dr. Green. She can talk to you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
you.